The subject matter of this lecture is, I think, the capstone of everything I've been doing. All semester I've been trying to tell a story or make an argument, building up the pieces that go together to make a fully realistic drawing. And remember, I separated realism out from photorealism as different things. I've given you everything you need to know for photorealism at this point. If you get a drawing that's perfectly well structured and proportioned, all the pieces, parts are in the right place in relationship to each other, and then you get all the values in the right spot and you manage all the gradients and everything, you can get an image like this, which is perfectly photorealistic. But there's no sense, like I pointed out before, that I could reach in and grab this sphere. It's photographically realistic. What we want to do is start to figure out how to recover a sense of the lost third dimension. When we're abstracting 3 dimensions into 2, we're losing something. We're losing our binocular vision. We're losing the sense that we could touch objects. In an image like this, we have 2 different ways of representing value that are using mark making. On the right, we have stippling, which is where you just go do a bunch of dots, and the closer together the dots get, and the more dots there are, the darker the value is. So you're still representing value. You know, it gets darker down here. But sorry, I'm messing with my pen here. You're getting darker value here and lighter value here. Over here you have the same thing, but if you look at these 2 images, you'll see that this one just feels a little bit more 3-dimensional. It feels more present. What's going on here is that we're using directional mark making in this image. So we're going back to this idea that we picked up with cross contour of creating a map of the volume of the thing. Remember, in cross contour, like on a ball, we would have had lines going around it like this. And that creates a map of the volume. And then I could also go across the ball like this way and create a map of the volume this way. And that will show the roundness of the thing. So that's why I call this V, let's write down here, V squared, because we can get, while we're creating value, we're also mapping volume. Value times volume. Because we're getting one thing to do 2 jobs, we can recover that lost third dimension. So you'll see here, as they get more lines and more lines close together to create the value, they're using the idea of directional mark making to map the volume. So we'll have, like back here, they're moving vertically, and that's showing us that the wall's up and down. Over here, the artist is going horizontally, and this is called hatching. Hatching, where I'm doing lines in a single direction. Also this, they're going around the roundness of the ball. They're not being real rigid with it like with cross contour. It doesn't have to go all the way around. They're leaving gaps to accommodate for value. So hatching, hatching, hatching. Now here, all of a sudden, we also have a second set of lines, as if it's going to a vanishing point. And when that happens, that's called cross-hatching. That happens here as well. As the lines come together down here, then they start going in this direction, because remember, we can show the volume of the ball that way. So they get the lines going this way to show the roundness going this way. And then there's also a third set of lines that are going this way. So when we're talking about hatching, it's lines, a single set of lines moving largely in the same direction. When we're talking about cross-hatching, it could be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many directions you need to go. The advantage of once you start cross-hatching is that, remember, each direction of volume that I map will describe different information. So as I need more value, I need to go darker. I'm going to need more lines I might as well start putting some of those lines in 2 or 3 or 4 directions and describe different types of information. I can describe the latitude, I can describe the longitude this way, I can describe like a longitude this way, and every layer of that I add, the ball's going to feel more three-dimensional. So you'll see that in images like this, like if you look really close at the dollar bill, they're letting the line drop out, or they're doing these little dash marks to manage value. The artist is also changing line weight so that the line is like thinner here and thicker there. So the line goes like this, changes in line weight. I'll make my tool a little bigger. So that's creating value. But they're also, like with cross contour, really conforming, warping around the surface, and creating a sense of volume. Notice here there's a cross-hatching, there's a second set of marks going this way that shows the roundness of the face. Same here, up over that way, down that way, changes in line weight to get value. Here we have an etching by the artist Panamaker. He was doing this based on a painting by Gustave Doré. So you get all of the value changes that you want. But if we go closer, it's going to be a little blurry here. We'll see how much work is being done with the line going up. Oops. Gonna make this a color image real quick. There we go. The lines are going up and over, and then they're flowing over the muscles. They're really moving in a lot of directions, coming up over the trapezius, into the pit of the neck, over the clavicle, onto the pec. Then down in the pec, you start to get this cross-hatching line going this way, and again, they're doing changes in line weight. So, I reiterate, we're mapping volume while we're creating value, and that re-imports the missing third dimension. Here you'll see an illusion by Victor Vasarely. Once he fills in the squares, then it's a really convincing illusion. This will show you how powerful this effect is. It's impossible to look at this image and not see it as something kind of bulging out at you and puckering back from you. That's what we're trying to get in our drawings, that convincing sense of a third dimension. And cross-hatching is how, hatching and cross-hatching is how we do it. Taking a look at this Peter Paul Rubens drawing, you'll notice that here he's not having to do this very strict like single line like the other examples I'm showing you, where he's doing like the cross contour approach. His lines are more free, so they just flow in and out of each other more freely. And that lets him turn the lines based on the form. Notice also he's not doing like straight lines. The lines are still, they're curving and they're wrapping. They're not all heading in a single direction. They start out headed in this direction and then they start to curve a little bit too. That's letting him create a really wide range of gradients, so changes in value. And like when we were dealing with cross contour, it was a real pain in the butt when something turned. Like here, you know, it was like, okay, this works real well here, but when we get to this part, we want to be going this way. Now we can do that. One of the ways to think about how to turn the lines here is if you see each chunk in isolation, you get a sense for it having its own like axis and equator, and then the axis and equator on this one are turned a little different. So you can see that Rubens is largely conforming to like the axis with these lines. They tilt a little bit to start to meet the axis here, so that there's a sense of integration in the body. And then he's using like the 45-degree angles across here as well. But he is letting some of these lines here spill into these lines here. You do not want to create what I call patches. So a patch would be like you only do this area of lines here, and then like this area of lines goes a different way and the two never meet. Some of these lines should continue down into here, and some of these lines should continue up into here, which you'll see in his drawing. And that creates a sense of integration and flow between the body, and it also allows for gradients. Notice that he's perfectly comfortable leaving areas of just hatching. You don't always have to cross hatch. And then he'll add some cross hatching. And then this area of cross hatching just goes off on its own and becomes hatching again. Here's its cross hatching. Now it's hatching. Now there's 2 directions. Now there's 3. And all of the areas are like some of the lines from here are spilling into some of the area here. Some of the lines from here are spilling into the lines here. They can start shifting and rotating. So you want it to be more organic and flowing when you're working. What you really don't want to do is like define one shape for a shadow. We'll take like say that shape there. You just have like one shape and then you just do this like X pattern in it. And none of the lines ever leave that X pattern. Everything lines up perfectly. That's going to look like you have something made out of, it's going to look like a drawing that's made out of like a quilt work, patchwork quilt. And then you would like, if this is patch, then this would just go like this. And this goes like this. And you'll see that the lines like never come together. You want some of these lines to go into there, some of these lines to go into there. The lines can get closer together and further apart. That's how you create gradient. A lot of people just keep one even line between. So letting your lines really pile up, move, turn, get further apart, hatching, cross hatching. That's what we're looking for. You're going to be working with the ballpoint pen, so you're probably going to get something closer to like what Edward Gorey has here, where he doesn't have change in line weight. We also want to get rid of contour line. He's using some contour line in here, but a lot of the changes in value, like right here, is just because he's got more or less hatching. So the edges are created just by changes in value. That's important. Like here, there's not a line around the shadow. We want that. Moving forward, we want to get rid of contour line. You can have it in your pencil sketch of the thing, which you should do first. You should do a pencil sketch in 6H, and then start hatching in pencil. Check in with me. You should definitely be on a Zoom meeting for this one. Check in with me. Make sure you got the idea, and then I'll tell you, yeah, just go ahead and finish the rest of it in pen. You don't want to finish the whole drawing in pencil and then have to trace over it. That would be bad. But you got to check in with me. So notice here, in terms of direction, again, Gorey's like going pretty much vertical, horizontal, and at 45 because this is straight up and down. Then when the cushion comes towards us, there's a lot more of this coming from a perspective and bending. Up on the top here, all the lines are bending around with the inside of the car, and they're bending the opposite way on the road. So he's doing a real good job mapping direction. There's huge range of gradients in here. There's all kinds of values just depending on how close the lines are getting together and how many different directions he's going in. You know, only a couple directions over here, a bunch of directions over there. Here you can see an Emil Ferris. This is done in ballpoint pen, which is what you should be using. And with ballpoint pen, you have pressure change available too. So the lighter you draw, the lighter the line will be. And then the harder you draw, the darker. And that will help you get changes in gradient as well as getting your lines closer together. Again, notice she's not putting contour line around anything. It's just because all of the shading stops there. All the cross-hatching stops. That's what we're looking for. Some places she puts a contour line, but we're trying to avoid that. So this is probably like the best example I could give you of what someone can do with the tools that you're using. Here you'll see she has a contour line around it, and we don't want that. It should be like this fruit up here. But full range of values, really good. This is a pretty good student example. I wish they would have erased the pencil line here, but you should start in pencil and finish in pen. If like I said before, if you go all the way in pencil, then you have a really tedious job of tracing it. The other thing is pencil won't show you exactly what value you're working with. The pens are darker, so you won't have a sense of value. Notice on screen I'm like actually easing this transition here a little bit, so I'm making that gradient smoother. Still have more smooth gradients in between. And then this one back here, this is a really good student example as well. Notice here, where it's a solid value, they went ahead and created a patch. Over here, the values are like more integrated, and I would integrate them even a little bit more maybe. Like have some of the lines come out of the patch and create a sense of better value over there. So that's a pretty good student example. That's the task for today. Now for the homework, you're going to draw a hand and a foot. And on the homework, you can open up to where you have weighted contour lines. So like in this image, you have contour lines that change line weight, that we've dealt with that before. And you can color in large areas of black. And then the cross-hatching would be like the in-betweens. Just creating the in-between values. You don't have to do that, but because cross-hatching is a line-based style, it fits well with contour line drawing and filling in large areas of shadow. So you see that a lot in comic book art. And I know a lot of people are interested, myself included, are interested in that stuff. So I want to give you the option. But you can just do what we're doing in class as well. And I have a number of examples on Canvas of good cross-hatching.